What up, nerds? TJ and Scott here for the Raising Nerds podcast, talking about our favorite nerd topics and how raising little nerds of our own is better than knee rockets. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing great.
Doing really great since the last episode aired. Holy cow. So I was sitting there at my table. I actually got the day off work to try to get an extra day to recover from COVID. It was like a bad cold for me. Or I had a bad cold and needed to get over a bad cold as well. And I get this text from you freaking out. Well, no, you weren't freaking out yet. You just said, hey, have you seen it yet? And I said, no, I should soon. You're like, not to say anything, but this episode is better than the last one. And I went, what?
That's what I thought. And I was freaking out. Like, as I was texting you, I was freaking out.
Oh, I would imagine.
Definitely.
I don't know how you were able to text freaking out.
I almost called you.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I was worried that I would let something slip if I
totally
called you. It was like, no.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt in my mind you would have totally slipped up and said something, because this episode was, I think, probably the coolest episode of The Mandalorian ever.
I agree. I agree.
All right, so first things first. Every time The Mandalorian starts, it has this previously on The Mandalorian, right? I mean, we all know exactly what's happening.
Right.
But do you ever find that those give things away for the episode? For you?
Yeah, for me they do.
Yeah.
We watch them for my wife so that she remembers. Because, they usually do that to be like, hey, these are key points that you need to remember from the previous stuff in order to understand, just in case you've forgotten it.
Exactly.
And for me, because, I have a horrible memory unless it's anything cinematic, and I watch it once and it's pretty much there.
Yeah.
So when it shows that, it's like, oh, okay, well, now we're going to be talking about this, and it kind of ruins, like, surprises.
Yeah. This one, it had three. It had three different things that went about. It had Boba Fett walking up to Fennec Shand. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you had already thought that the walking character at the end of that episode chapter 5, if you thought that was Boba Fett.
See, I thought it was Cobb Vanth, because I thought he's in the Boba Fett armor.
Right.
My guess is he was in Boba Fett armor, so I was like, oh, are they going to introduce Cobb Vanth?
Right. And then I think I've said before that when I went back and watched all the different stuff, and when Cobb Vanth walks into the cantina, it doesn't make that sound. And when he walks along the dock with Mando, it doesn't make that sound.
Huh.
And so I'm like, okay, so it's definitely not him.
It's not him.
And then when you watch Empire Strikes Back and you watch Boba Fett walk into the room after Vader surprises Han and Leia, and it's exactly that sound. It's like, that's Boba Fett.
That's Boba.
No question in my mind whatsoever. So they had the Fennec Shand walking up. So maybe that didn't spoil it for you. Mm-hmm. Or did it? Did you think Fennec was coming back?
Yeah, I
because
did.
Of that?
Because that's the third time they've shown someone walking up to Fennec Shand's body.
Yeah.
So I thought they're showing us this enough times that I wasn't certain she would come back. It was more of now a hope, where it's like, you've dangled this in front of me now.
Yeah. Well, we've both said that we wanted her to come back.
Yeah.
Because she's an amazing actress.
Yeah, Ming-Na Wen is the lady who plays her. Yeah, she's just phenomenal. I loved her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
As May.
Cavalry.
And so I thought they're going to do so much with her in Marvel, and then...
That's another one we'll have to do, is doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That would be fun.
So they had the Fennec Shand one, and then they had Ahsoka's instructions to Mando about where to take Grogu. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, so we're doing that. We're just going straight into it.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. And then the last one was Gideon with the Dark Troopers on his ship, saying, he didn't say we'll be ready in the clip, but they said we know where they are and we're tracking them. I'm like, okay, so everything's coming together in this one episode. You almost knew the entire plot of the episode just from the opening crawl.
Yeah,
from the opening
really.
Previously. These are the things you want to remember. It's like they got a big bullhorn or a big red sign flashing saying, this is what we're doing.
Uh-huh.
I even felt that way at the end of this episode too, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So it goes through that, and then it has the opening scene with Mando trying to saying Grogu's name over and over.
And just laughing to himself every time he looks up. Just
It's like if you had a dog and you learned that it had a name that it responds to every time.
Yeah.
Or like, since we're talking, we're raising nerds, the first time your kid recognizes their name.
Uh-huh.
And you can say their name and they look at you. Oh, that's me, that's my name.
You find yourself saying it often just because they go, oh, that's
just because they respond now.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was.
What did you think of Mando trying to tell Grogu that he's going to have to leave?
To be honest, it was part of like he's saying goodbye, but maybe not. At the end, it was like, well, he said goodbye, but not the way he thought he was going to.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
It really seemed like he was really just trying to convince himself.
Oh, yeah.
How many times, like, do you understand? I said I would do this, so I have to do this. It's like, he's really trying to convince himself that I still have to do this.
Yeah, he mentions how he's not a good teacher, how you're more powerful than I can ever handle. I can't train you. And then, but at the same time, you can hear in his voice that he's like, but could I?
Yeah.
Is that an option?
Yeah, he's like, and what's funny is he tested it in the sense that he can get Grogu to grab the ball.
Yes.
So he can get him to use the Force, but I think he's maybe a little unsure about his abilities. Because he knows nothing about the Jedi.
Nothing about the Jedi.
Like, how do I train him with these powers that are obviously, a part of him?
All right, I have a secret hope, and this is wild speculation, but I hope that Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of the last episode, sees the connection between Mando and Grogu, and says, you know what? I think you'd have a better opportunity to teach him. Here are some Jedi texts that you could use to do that. But I don't think that's exactly how it went. I have another idea too, but we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I have a picture in my mind of the last shot of this season.
Uh-huh.
And it's really fun.
Oh, man.
But it's totally wild speculation. So Mando says Dank Ferrick.
Yeah, he does.
I thought about maybe in these podcasts we're going to keep a tally of how many times people say Dank Ferrick.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot.
Teddy, my wife, she actually said, you guys should say that in every episode.
Dank Ferrick.
So I talked about how we talk about Gor Koresh.
Yes. There it is. Got it. Nailed it. Yep. I've been secretly trying to get Gor Koresh into every episode and talking about, how he, just whatever. It doesn't have to be something specific. Just find some way to bring up Gor Koresh, and you just did. So thank you very much. Mm-hmm. I'm getting there.
Check that box.
I'll get him in every episode. I think I've already missed some episodes because we record multiples in a day.
That's true. We think we got it, but we missed.
So I think I get it, but it was in the first one.
That's true.
The second one. But it's okay. It's interesting. He says the nice lady said you had training. And I'm like, the nice lady. And I'm like, you mean Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Grogu knows Ahsoka. Come on.
Yeah, he does.
Well, whatever. I thought it was funny that he said that, though. And that he thinks that she's a nice lady.
Yeah.
I think that's...
After they massacred,
proud of that.
all those
soldiers
guards and stuff. It's like, she's
gosh.
a nice lady.
Nice lady with a couple of lightsabers and a desire to find a tall, blue alien man.
Oh, yep.
I just had a picture in my mind of a Tinder profile looking for someone tall, blue, with glowing red eyes.
He might answer. She should try that. Give it a shot.
Match.com. I've seen a lot of ads for him. So he says you're special, I can't train you. You're right, he's totally saying goodbye. But not for Grogu's sake, it's for his own.
For his own sake.
100%. And as a parent, you do that.
Yeah.
I know I hear a lot of it when your kids move out of the house. It's like, well, you got to move out of the house. You got to move out of the house. And then they move out of the house and you go, why do you have to move out of the house?
Yeah, why don't you just stay?
Can't you just stay here and be my little kid forever?
Or, like him, you feel the inadequacies of, trying to raise a kid. You know, because I'm sure that now he's thinking, could I make it? Like, could I raise this kid?
Yeah.
The armorer, I think that's her name.
That's what she's referred to. Yeah.
He's not old. He wouldn't be strong enough to survive the trials.
Yeah, the Mandalorian.
Yeah, she said he wouldn't survive.
Stuff.
So I'm sure, you know, is he wondering now? He's like, oh, I'm sure he could. You know, I wonder if he thinks maybe I should give it a shot.
Training,
and we could. And then we could really, you know, we could stay and be the same, you know, in the same clan.
Get Grogu Fett going.
Yeah, Grogu Jaren.
Grogu Jaren. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, right after this experience, he's trying to say goodbye to Baby Yoda, and then the title comes on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The Tragedy.
The Tragedy.
Wow. Did that hit you? Did that scare the crap out of you?
Yeah, it did.
Oh my gosh, it did me too.
It took me back to the sin.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Which was episode 2, I think?
3.
Episode 3.
Episode 2 is when the Jawas destroyed
That's right.
the
sin, which is when he delivers
Grogu to the client.
And I thought this is going to be
Dr. Pershing.
worse.
I finally remembered his name.
Dr. Pershing, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the tragedy. Whoa, what a way to set up an episode. To scare the heck out of every single person involved and be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're doing what now?
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, I was like, well, am I ready for this? You know, as I was watching, it's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this separation to happen. Cause,
oh, no.
You know, part of me is they're not supposed to be apart. That they are a family now, and they are to stay together.
They are
at all times. Yeah,
100%. And here they are saying, "Oh, there's going to be a massive tragedy here," and I'm like,
"Yep."
Now later on, I thought maybe, oh, it could be referring to that. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's not going to be bad, but him saying goodbye, it totally sets up your fears of Grogu being lost to the Mando.
Yep.
So they circle around the mountain, and Grogu can kind of see the Jedi Temple from like under his arm and stuff.
Right.
Do you think he knew what was happening? Do you think he recognized the Force there, maybe? Or?
Yeah. Before the Ahsoka episode, I would have said no. But the Ahsoka episode really opened up to just how smart Grogu is.
Yes.
Like I feel like he picks up a lot more than I thought he did.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would say, yeah, he kind of at least felt the connection because Ahsoka said that it's very strong with the Force.
Yes.
So I'm sure he at least noticed that same feeling of being close to the Force or something that's strong in the Force.
Yeah. I think he definitely could sense that something important was going to happen there.
Yeah.
And that's why he's kind of looking at it and looking at Mando and like something. This is gonna be a big deal. And then he says, "Sorry, I can't land here. We got to travel the rest of the way with the windows down." I love that.
So cool. And then it just shows you can hear Grogu giggling.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
I just love his noises. They're perfect.
Me too.
Every time they just nail it.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do because you have to really have kids to know what they sound like when they do stuff like that. It's so great.
And it was interesting because it's like, Grogu is such an adorable creature that you run the risk of people just having an unattainable expectation. Even though we didn't know at all what he would sound like, we have an expectation of how he should sound. And I think they just nailed it. That's how he sounds.
Yeah, he definitely, they could have made him sound tons of ways wrong, but he is a child. Even though he's 50 years old, he is a very small child still, and acts that way. He coos and makes little noises and laughs, and gosh. Most of my kids are out of that phase.
Mine are right in that phase.
Yeah. So every time I get a little coo out of my youngest daughter Amelia, she's 2. I just get excited because it's like baby noises. Baby noises are the best.
That's funny because in watching the second season, my youngest Bobby, she's 1 now, and she's like a baby Yoda to me.
Okay.
The more I've seen like stuff that she does, it's like this is my own personal Grogu, and so like when I'm watching an episode that starts off with the tragedy, I've already because I see myself as the Mandalorian, obviously.
Of course.
And so I'm like, this is like me and Bobby on a quest, and so it really kind of hits home when stuff happens to Grogu, where it's like sometimes like, whoa, that's a little too close, just because they seem they're probably about the same year, the same place, even though he's 50 and she's only 1.
But
they're about the same place developmentally.
I know they originally said that he was like 2, but when I look at my 2-year-old, I'm like, nah, not so much. He's definitely younger than that.
Yeah, I would agree. Because my 2-year-old, she's talking and
they talk and they're forming complete sentences. Amelia said the prayer at dinner the other night. We had to feed her the words, but she would repeat them and match the tone.
Right, yes.
And at least get the last syllable right. So, it makes sense. Mando talks to Grogu, though, like he's just another person, even though he knows he's not going to get an answer back. But now that he knows that Grogu can understand more, he's like, oh, well, maybe I should talk more just regular to him, and maybe he is understanding, and he'll respond in his own way.
Yeah.
Like walking around the temple area and being like, oh, is there some way to turn it on? Is there a control or something? Like, come on, dude. This whole thing revolves around magic, and you really think there's going to be a button to turn it on?
It's not one that you can see.
It's not the Jedi Archives. There are no buttons. There are no computers to look up the book you want.
Yeah, but I mean, it takes you back to Rebels, where Kanan and Ezra, they lift up a temple. Yeah. They open up a Jedi temple with the Force. There's no buttons. It's completely through the Force, which is what Ahsoka said. If he chooses, he'll reach out through the Force.
Yeah, and boy, does he ever.
Oh, yes.
Impenetrable shield.
Yeah.
Probably should have left that up a little while longer.
Ugh.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mando just keeps leaving. Just keeps leaving him there. I'm like, you have the high ground, Mando.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you don't walk down the hill.
I wonder if he's like, well, no one can get into this because I can't get in. So, I mean, what are the odds that someone else can get into this force field that Grogu has around him?
Yeah, well, how long is it going to last, though?
That's true.
You don't know. And then I also got frustrated that every time Mando's like, kid, we got to go. We don't have time for this. I'm like, use his name.
Yeah,
use his name.
It's funny that he
Why did you not use his name?
Just to calling him kid.
So fast like that. It's just habit.
Yeah.
Just force a habit. Like it's novel when he wants to talk to Grogu, but every other time he calls him the kid.
Yeah.
And he is not Bruce Willis in a Disney feature. He is not the kid.
No.
He is Grogu.
He does call him the child every once in a while, I've noticed. Every once in a while he'll call him the child. Usually when he addresses when he's talking about Grogu to somebody else.
Yes. He calls him the child.
He'll call him the child.
Or the kid. He does call him the kid at the end of this episode.
He does. That's true. There are a few times he says the child.
Yeah. Did you like the butterflies? Little blue butterflies flying around?
Yeah, I mean, it was like...
Just a cute
what went through my mind was like, he probably wants to eat that. It's like, oh, butterfly. I'm hungry.
Goodness, yes.
I was like, that's probably what he's thinking, because he eats everything.
That's right. I thought it was being cute, but yeah, you're right. If he would have gotten a hold of that thing, he would have ate that sucker. Well, that's funny. Now I have this picture in my head of him reaching up to it and force pulling it into his hand.
And then just... Which would have been really funny.
Granted, very funny. So he gets the force field up, and Mando hears a sound. And he looks up, and there's a spaceship coming in. And everyone lost their minds.
They did. Probably, if not exactly the same, at least for me, it was more than when Bo-Katan, which we'll talk about, says Ahsoka Tano. Seeing the ship that we see.
No, yeah, it's
I lost my mind even more than
different
hearing Ahsoka Tano's name. Which is a big deal for me, but...
And even when her lightsabers, when Ahsoka's lightsabers appeared on screen,
yes,
I was expecting them. I knew what color they were.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. There they are. This is exciting. But that ship was not expected to exist.
It. Yeah, we even talked about, well, where is it? You know, which.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened to it?
Why does he not have his armor?
Exactly.
What happened to Slave One? Does he still have it? Yeah. And here comes Slave One, flying just bright as day, just flying through the shot, and everyone's going, "Wait, what?"
It's a very iconic ship for those who haven't seen this episode. I don't know why you're watching this, but that's the ship from Attack of the Clones, Jango Fett's ship. It's so unique that you see it, you cannot mistake it for any other ship. Like, that is Slave One.
Yeah.
That is the ship that we saw in episode 5.
Yeah.
That is Slave One.
Oh, it's such a beautiful ship.
It is.
It is so unique. And I know it's a Fire Spray 39 or something, and there's a designation, and there are other ships that have existed in Star Wars that are the same type of ship. It's not a completely one of a kind. But as far as we've ever seen in any media other than Legends, no, there's one ship in the galaxy that is that.
That's
and
the one.
Is Slave One, owned by Jango, passed on to his son Boba at some point. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Mando can't get through the force field. He sees somebody exit Slave One. Now, at this point, I wasn't 100% sold that it was Boba.
Yeah.
I was not 100% there.
I was like, this is Boba.
But I hoped. And then the cloaked figure comes off, and I'm like, okay, I didn't see any of the guns. Now, looking closer afterwards, I could see them on multiple rewatches. I'm like, okay, he does have the gaffy stick and the big old rifle strapped to his back. That's fine. But at the time, I'm like, okay, it's in a cloak. We don't know. Mando comes off the hill, laser blasts, and freaking Boba Fett.
There he is.
Boba Fett.
Oh
my gosh. I freaking
lost it.
Yeah.
Even more than when you see him in the first episode. As he watches Mando go past on the speeder, like, that's Boba Fett. And then
it's
you
like,
see
but he's just passively watching.
This is Boba Fett. He's here.
And he's talking.
He's talking. And in that Timur Morrison voice of his, that's his voice. Like, there's Jango. That's Rex. That's Cody. That's all the clones. There's his voice.
Oh my gosh. I'm just reliving it in my head right now. And I'm getting chills. Oh, and then we find out he saved Fennec Shand.
He did.
It's awesome. Now she's got robo-abs.
Yes, she does. It's cool. She peeled it off.
She just opened up that little flap. I'm assuming it's for maintenance.
Probably.
Maybe a little lubrication occasionally. Gets
Hopefully,
a little squeaky.
Yeah. Well, on Tatooine, there's a lot of sand. So
That's true. It's true. You gotta
clean it out.
Gotta get that cleaned out. Get the canned air. Spray that out inside there. So is her? I don't think her whole lower half is, but I think a significant portion of her torso.
Definitely, because she got blasted in the
right in the gut.
So I would assume that right there is just, her gut is mechanics, and her legs might be. It might just be her gut that's mechanic.
It could be just her abdomen.
I would think she would have
robo-abs.
Cool abilities, like with legs. If she had robo legs, she could maybe jump higher. So
or push big rocks, possibly.
That's true, but that takes a lot of ab work. Too.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Fennec Shand, were you excited? You were excited.
I was so excited.
I was excited.
I was so excited. I was so sad when she got shot in the episode. I was like, "That's
it.
You're gonna just throw away Ming-Na Wen's ability to act. You're just gonna toss it in one episode."
They're not gonna do that.
Oh, I mean, a couple of the episodes have been one time. We see him. We're like,
people. Ahsoka was a one-off.
So
she may come back. She doesn't have to though.
No, she doesn't, which is cool.
And we have had a lot of one-shot characters.
So I was like, maybe that's it. And so seeing her again I was like, this. There it is. That's okay. We're gonna see some more of her. I loved it.
Oh my goodness, Boba Fett talking to Mando. Every word that came out of his mouth, I'm just hanging on.
Yeah, I mean,
I just love every second.
What's funny is we were always talking about
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the galaxy.
That
like my father.
was like my favorite line.
Was it?
Yeah, I say that line that Django says
You do.
to people all the time, and they always are just like, okay. It's like,
they have no idea.
Like,
that was your
right
test.
over your head.
That
was your test, and you failed. It's like
I said super easy, barely an inconvenience today, and didn't get a reaction out of either of the people I was with, and I immediately got sad.
That's sad. I mean, I am waiting for the time that someone says, "Ever make your way as far as Coruscant?"
See, that's the proper answer.
There it is.
See, my problem is I never think that far. Like, you'd say something, just a simple man trying to make my way through the universe. It's like, it's the thing. It's the Django thing. And you're like, and? I'm like, and it's cool.
It's like when you say hello there, and you wait for someone to say, General Kenobi. Or, what he says in episode 4 to R2-D2.
Hello there. Oh, gosh.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. I won't hurt you.
But yeah, I wait for the time that someone does it, and when someone does it, it's gonna blow my mind.
And when that happens, you will immediately be best friends.
Yeah, really, because I'll see how far they can go.
Man, that reminds me. I saw a meme. It was from Step Brothers. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Or know about it? And Will Smith, and I can't remember the other guy, and he's like, did we just become best friends? And he's like, yes! And one of them is Mando, and the other one's Boba Fett. Did we just become best friends? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we did. Oh my gosh. And
yeah, when I watched it with my wife again, so I had, I think, 2 people text me that evening, like, so have you watched the latest episode? And I'm like, yeah, twice.
Yeah, twice.
And so when I watched it with my wife, and he said that, I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe like my father, I'm like, he said the thing, and it was just
right
so
over.
I was like, there it is, it's right there.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it was like, I could just listen to you say that over and over again.
I can listen to Tamara Morrison just talk.
Yeah.
Because every word that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, it's Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he says something, like, Boba Fett said that.
Yeah. Seriously.
Now, his line is slightly different than his father's. His father says, I'm just a simple man making my way through the universe. And Boba says, making my way through the galaxy. So it's the same, but just slightly tweaked. Yeah. Which is exactly what Boba Fett is. He's the same, just a little different.
Tweaked. That's true.
Oh my gosh, I freaking loved that.
It was... he could not have said anything better. That was the perfect thing for him to say.
Are you Mandalorian? Are you taking the creed?
I give my allegiance to no one. When he's like,
I cannot get enough of it.
Are you here for the child? He's like,
are you a Jedi or are you here for the child?
Are you here for the child? And he's like,
I'm here for the armor.
For the armor. You want my armor? You have to peel it off my dead body.
Yeah, but he's not Gor Koresh. He doesn't want your armor.
No.
Got it.
There it is. I don't want your armor.
I want my armor.
Mine that you took from Cobb Vanth.
You took from Cobb Vanth on Tatooine. The way he says Tatooine, like, I only want to say it like that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, like the same way with Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Like, oh my gosh, and he says it just like Django, and it's like, Boba. It's me, Boba Fett.
That's
my father,
me, Boba.
Jango Fett.
You're like, that's it. There
even
it is.
fought in the Mandalorian Civil War. Oh my gosh.
Which we will
I know we're jumping ahead, but I don't even care.
It's just every time Boba says something, it's just...
I always grew up thinking Boba Fett was a cool guy. And I made fun of him with everybody else. He doesn't do anything. He stands around. He talks a big game. And then he gets taken out by a blind guy with a stick.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, right? But
it is.
Boba Fett, I always had this secret respect. Like, if I ever met Boba Fett, I wouldn't say those things to his face.
Absolutely not.
Because there's that... I know what he can do.
Yeah.
And now I really know what he can do.
It's funny because I always loved Boba Fett.
Yeah?
He was always like, because in episode 5 it shows us all these bounty hunters. Mm-hmm. But Boba Fett was the one who was able to do stuff. And it was like, this guy is really, something to be wary about. And so I was always like, he just got, the short stick. And he's just luck. He's just... The Force at some point just willed that this is what's going to happen. It's like, cause he was, I always thought he was so cool. Jetpacks and just his armor was just so cool. And so when, we finally, this episode gave me the Boba Fett I always wanted.
Yep. It finally gave us the Boba Fett we always knew he was.
Yeah.
And we got to see it on screen finally.
We did.
I've got on the table here in front of us, I've got a bunch of different Mandalorians, including 2 different versions of Boba Fett. I've got the all-white.
Oh, nice.
Prototype Boba Fett. I've got the traditional Boba Fett with both knee rockets.
That's so cool.
And then I've got 2 different Jangos. One of them is the original Lego Jango Fett, which goes for like $100 on eBay and stuff right now.
Wow. And
then I've got the secondary version that came in a smaller set, but now is worth twice as much as the set ever was. There because they released Jango Fett, people pass on the set, and then it goes out of print, and everybody goes, wait, I wanted Jango Fett.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, I've got Din Djarin here on his Tatooine bike.
His
Tatooine. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Their exchange was just... I loved it because all of the Mandalorian, we've seen how Mando is very confident in his abilities. Everything. He's like, I'm fine. And it was funny to see the exchange where Boba was also fine. And he's like...
he's standing there with no Beskar.
Nothing.
His weapons are on his back.
Yeah.
Wearing just a cloak.
He's like...
And he's standing in front of a fully decked out Mandalorian who's got his blasters out. Full Beskar. And he's just standing in front of him like... I got this.
Well, yeah, which is funny when he's like, just hand it over, and then even Mando, he kind of flexes a little when he activates the
whistling birds.
The whistling birds, and doesn't even phase Boba.
Nope, he doesn't even flinch.
He's just like, oh, I wasn't talking about you.
Oh, no, we're not going to shoot you. We're going to shoot your little friend on the ridge.
Your little friend up there on the hinge.
And then Fennec talks, and Mando's like, Fennec?
Good ear.
Good ear, Mando. You could hear it in his voice like, Fennec?
Fennec?
Like, what?
Which is funny because, like, for us, we've been getting tidbits of Fennec might come back, but you have to think in Mando's position, the last time he saw her, she was dead.
In the sand.
And I was like, he does have a good ear, because, like...
Yep, I don't know if I'd remember somebody Fennec? I met once and then they died.
Yeah, they talked for 10 minutes and then he left.
You left to go get the Bantha.
To go get the Bantha, or the...
Or the... Dewback.
The Dewback.
And then he came back and she was what he thought was dead.
Yeah, which is funny. She's like, it looks like you've seen a ghost. You look like you've seen a ghost.
He's like,
you were dead.
Yeah.
He's like, I am seeing a ghost.
She was left for dead.
Like me.
Like I was. Oh my gosh. Like me. Oh my gosh. I freaking love Boba Fett.
And what does he say? But
well, Boba Fett is officially no longer the main character anymore.
Boba Fett is the main character.
Boba Fett is now the character that we want.
Sometimes fortune smiles on the wretched.
Oh, and rescues the wretched.
Sometimes fortune.
Freaking love.
Or gosh. Fate. Sometimes fate rescues the wretched. So cool.
That he considers himself the wretched.
Yeah.
That he knows he's not the good guy. And that's something else, is we root so much for Boba Fett. He was always the bad guy.
He was.
He was the bad guy.
Which
he freaking caught
Han and all of them to that end. This is jumping ahead a little bit. When Boba sees the Empire, for a half a second I thought, is he going to go back to the Empire?
Oh gosh, yes.
Is he going to be like, peace out? This is where I'm going. Like, is he going to just leave them and join the Empire? For a half a second, I thought that. I
thought so too, and that's going to be a fun discussion. Absolutely. Let's see if we can find our place in the episode again real quick, because we're jumping all over the place. Half of me doesn't even care. Boba loves his armor. Mm-hmm. They say that for the bounty on Grogu's head right now, you could buy 10 suits of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beskar. 10 suits of
10
Beskar.
Suits of full Beskar armor, but...
At least that was the insinuation. I don't know if that's really... But Boba says no. He doesn't care.
He wants his armor.
He wants his armor. And in exchange for his armor, he'll
ensure
promise the safety of Mando and Grogu. And I think that's why in the end he sticks around. It's because he took the armor from Mando without Mando giving it to him.
Yeah.
he just took it. And I think that's why he feels a little bad. And so he took his end of the deal. He got his reward before Mando got his reward.
Yeah.
Or before anything happened, really.
Really, yeah.
And so now Boba's like, you know what? I still owe you something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you get this kid back. I think we can do it.
Yeah.
With me, Boba Fett, who can basically win against the Empire myself.
Which he showed.
Plus you to help. We can totally do this.
Mando is a good target. If I've seen
I was thinking about that.
He is like the perfect target.
So we're reviewing 2 episodes today. It's chapter 14 and chapter 11. And in both of them, he just takes so many hits.
Yeah, he's the distraction. he
But anyway, they're interrupted.
They are, yeah.
We'll jump into Mando being target practice.
More ships show up.
Another ship shows up. It's a drop ship.
It looks like the ships from the First Order.
It does. It looks a lot like it. The engines on the back are wide. The back of it looks like a U-wing. Yeah. And then there's no pilot thing on top. There's some little thing, and then the turret's on the side. But the front opens just like the D-Day invasion ships, which are just like the First Order ship from Force Awakens.
Yeah. I noticed that. I was like,
Rise of Skywalker. Weren't they in Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. It was interesting. I was like, I see it. It may be kind of starting to shift.
Yeah, a little bit of design.
We're starting to see the First Order maybe start to kind of pop up a little bit.
And that's a cool looking ship. There's a lot of people in LEGO trying to build it right now. And that's my biggest thing is I'm not good at copying ships from Star Wars. I do the occasional thing. If nobody else has done it, I'll jump in and try it, and it works. But everybody's jumping on these things.
Right.
And I sit down and I try to make it. I'm like, you know what? Other people have done so much better than me. And so I'm just waiting for them to do it. And then if I see an improvement I can make on the design, then I'll jump in there and be like, well, that's not quite right, and I'll fix it myself. But yeah, that's a cool ship. It's a cool looking ship, and we've seen the evolution. And then a bunch of Dark Troopers come out.
No.
Nope. I expected it. Did you?
No. I expected. I did. I expected the Dark Troopers. Whatever those things were that Moff Gideon looked at, I did expect those things to be what came out.
That's what they showed in the opening. Yeah. And then when it's a bunch of stormtroopers, you're like, oh, it's just stormtroopers. Like, they'll be fine.
Okay. Whatever. This will be easy.
This is the opener. This is the opening act.
Yeah. Which we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
They have a standoff before the stormtroopers show up.
Right.
They're at a standoff, so Mando takes his jetpack off.
Right. And I thought that was weird at first, but
so did I.
At the same time, the jetpack allowed Mando to have the high ground.
That's true.
And that we know in Star Wars, high ground is important.
It is.
It's always important. And so that allowed Boba to know that Boba to know that Din Djarin was not going to jet off and suddenly start shooting at him.
Right.
And I think that was why. I know a lot of people think that it's because, there's plot reasons later on.
Yeah.
We'll see why if he had the jetpack, some things would have been solved. But...
Well, I mean, in the end,
in the end, you could have just tweaked a little bit of the timing on things.
Yeah.
And we would have ended up with the same result.
Yeah.
But this allowed a little more interesting development between Mando and how he's fighting the stormtroopers with Fennec and...
Yeah, and they both lost their high ground. Because Fennec had the high ground. She was up on the ridge. So Boba, sacrificed his high ground, but he's like, I'm not going to just be the only one who loses my high ground.
Exactly.
You have to lose yours too.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah,
so
100%.
Mando is now jetpackless.
So it does make sense, and I had a hard time with it, but I'm like, they don't make mistakes like that.
Yeah.
They don't just throw something in for plot reasons. There has to be a reason why they would have done it, and I'm sure I can find it. And I'm pretty sure that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows the power of a jetpack.
Yes, he does.
Because he's Boba Fett.
He's Boba Fett,
and we get to see him.
If you didn't think he knew the power of it, again, this episode shows you just how much Boba Fett knew.
Well, welcome to the Boba Fett podcast.
Exactly. It's so true.
Talking about the Boba Fett show. Mando, when the transport first gets there, they have their standoff. Mando takes off his jetpack, but just holsters his weapon. And another key thing that doesn't matter later, actually now that I think about it, Boba takes off his rifle, but not his gaffy stick.
No.
And that was somewhat strategic, we find out later.
Yeah.
So Mando tries to go up to get Grogu, and Fennec and Boba go to hold off the troops.
Mm-hmm.
And Fennec is just, one shot, one kill. She's just sniping the crap out of him.
And
there's a lot of guys.
Boba's using his gun at that point.
Yeah, he picks his gun back up.
He picks his rifle
back up. But Mando doesn't pick up his jetpack.
No, because the first thing he thinks is Grogu, and so...
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
he doesn't use it all the time.
We saw in episode 2 that he can call his jetpack to him.
That's true.
So I wondered why he didn't do that, but...
I don't know if he can. I know he can activate it.
Maybe that's the case. He can have it go up and down, and that's
true, yeah. It didn't really come to him. Yeah. It's not a homing beacon, I guess.
Plus, if he activates it and then they shoot it down, now he's in big trouble because he's completely lost his jetpack now.
True. Yeah, when you see a ship coming in, your first thought isn't let's fly up. It's got these cannons on the side. That's a good point. But Mando goes up to get Baby and tries to reach through the force field thing and gets knocked out completely.
Yeah, which is crazy because he got knocked out through Beskar.
Yeah.
Which we've seen. He's gotten hit by
his head.
Yeah, but he's getting hit by a ton of stuff and he's usually okay. But it's just the way he got hit or something, he just knocked him out.
Yeah, got to get checked for a concussion after that.
Yeah.
He get knocked out. But we know that nothing can get through. So while Mando's out cold, as long as this force field is intact, we're not worried about Baby Yoda. So that's fine.
Now we get to see the Boba Fennec Sean.
Now we see the Boba stuff.
The movie.
The real show.
The real show.
Fennec going freaking nuts on all these guys.
I mean,
and Boba with that gaffy stick. Oh my goodness.
He was
destroying their armor. We've seen armor crack before with the armorer.
Yeah.
When she gets attacked at the end of season 1. She shatters some armor, and that was whoa.
So cool.
But this one, no, he smashes a stormtrooper helmet just into pieces.
Breaks it apart. And it just shows
and it shows it after
whacks those guys, and it just knocks them out.
Then he's able to stab one of them right through the chest.
Yeah.
With the gaffy stick with
and
the pointy.
And he grabs the captain dude and throws him to the ground and just...
Dude, that was insane.
His strength is he's
a big
formidable.
Dude. Yeah. And through armor, he's taking these guys on in his cloak still.
Yeah.
Now this dude, no armor, no helmet, his awesomely scarred head.
Yeah, I'd like to note that he looks so cool.
I know.
Just his scars and his the discoloration. He looks so cool.
My guess is that that stomach acid in the Sarlacc didn't really agree with him.
Yeah, because he lost all his hair.
Yeah, no, he's full on bald head.
Did he have eyebrows? I don't remember if he had. He might not have had eyebrows.
Oh yeah,
he lost all his hair.
He lost all the hair on his body.
Yeah.
Well, on his head. The only part we can see for even part of the show, I guess.
Yeah. But so cool looking, and you could just see, and you could see that he was I'm not one who gives mercy. He completely
straight through, freaking beats the crap out of these guys with nothing but a freaking gaffy stick.
Yeah,
nothing but a bantha toothbrush.
Really though, and it's all of a sudden it puts a little more fear with the Tusken Raiders because those gaffy sticks are not something to mess around with.
Yeah, now I think back when Luke encountered him and got knocked out, and I'm like, we're lucky that's all he got.
Yeah, and he split his head open. Maybe they may not be as strong as Boba is.
But still, I mean, those weapons are mean and nasty.
They are, and they were so cool looking though.
Oh man.
But anyway, yeah, that's
such a good one.
He goes to town and just cleans house with that stick.
Not even a problem. Doesn't take a hit. I did notice a little bit that the stormtroopers stopped shooting at people for a minute, and that was kind of annoying.
Well, I wonder if it's just the
they
surprise.
Were running up to him,
they're
but they also weren't trying to kill them.
True.
It could be that they were going to say, hey, we're not after you, which they actually say to Fennec. We're not after you, we're going after the child. We want the kid. And maybe they're like, dude, just stop it. We want your help. We want to hire you. We want something. And it's not until Mando shows up to help Fennec that they really start firing again.
Yeah, that's true.
So they may have even had orders to say, hey, try to get those two people on our side.
Yeah.
I don't think they're with him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work. And we get new troopers. We get a new trooper. We get a mortar trooper.
Yeah.
He's got yellow markings that are in the same pattern as the flame trooper from episode 8.
Yes.
Chapter 8, I should say. Episodes are for the movies.
Yes.
These are chapters. In chapter 8, he had red markings in the same pattern, and this one has yellow markings. Mm-hmm. So flame trooper, mortar trooper. And he's launching these mortars off, and it's like, this is...
at Fennec, yeah.
Yeah, this is a legitimate concern. Because those are basically just grenades that he's launching.
Yeah, they are. Which it seemed like he was using them more for just distraction, so that the other stormtroopers could get the gun...
Get a little bit closer,
in place.
Yeah. Oh, the E-Web. Yeah, we got some E-Web troopers out there again. And we see a good use of it.
Yeah,
really good use. We see it actually firing and being effective. The only reason they're not hitting Fennec is because she's just over the ridge.
Yeah.
And she's trying to maintain that. Yeah, exactly. And whenever you're shooting up, there's a chance something's going to come down, and that's exactly what happens to him.
Exactly. The mortar guy's really the guy who loosened that up for her.
Yeah, he is. Well, he didn't expect that. He just was a couple feet off, really.
That's true. Like 3 feet.
Yeah, from the back end. How could you miss? She was 3 feet away from you. And it's Mulan.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. How could you miss, Mortar Trooper? You had one job to do, and this is all you're supposed to do. But he loosens that thing. The E-Web's hitting it. It's about to come down anyway.
Yeah.
But then she pushes on it and uses those robo-abs to get a nice shove. I work in underground. I work digging trenches and rocks and stuff. And I can tell you, you could push your entire life on that rock and it would not move. That is a huge rock. That is a gigantic rock. When she went to push it, I'm like, you can't push a rock that big. And then I turned to my wife, I'm like, I mean, she will.
But you can't.
But you can't. That thing would have to be just toppled just perfectly. It'd have to be teetering on the edge for you to be able to move it at all.
That's true.
Or you have to have robo-abs.
Which
she does.
She did. I mean, at least it showed she did struggle. Like,
she didn't get it the first try.
Took her to the count of 3.
Yep.
To get to that and to get it
But
off.
she knocks that thing down, takes out
a couple stormtroopers. The E-Web guy tries to blast it and fails.
At what point do you just
bail? Nope. I would have bailed, much sooner.
Halfway down. As soon as it crushed those two guys, I'm like, I'm not stopping it.
Yep. Which I was actually hoping it was going to just blow through them and blast right into one of the ships and just destroy that. That would have been awesome. So funny.
Yeah, that is funny. But it doesn't. It hits some bottom part and breaks apart a little bit. And then the Captain Trooper is there, and that's when Boba Fett shows up right behind him.
Taps him on the shoulder and just...
Hey, that's a classic Han move right there. A little tap on the shoulder.
It's like he could have... He's just toying with him now, because he could have just whacked that dude.
Oh, yeah.
Done, but
he's like, no, I want you to see this.
I want you to see this coming.
Well, so they took out those guys pretty good. And Boba, when he finishes up with him, looks over and sees the open door on the Razor Crest.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh no, he's just going to take it and run.
I thought he was going to take the whole ship.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's going to be like, thanks for the ship, and be like, hey, Fennec, go get in the Slave One. We have 2 ships now. Here.
The makings of your very own fleet.
Exactly. Commodore. Commodore Fett.
Perfect. But he doesn't. We see Mando wake up and say to the kid, all right, kid, just hold on. I'm going to try to stop him again. We see another troop transport come in.
Yeah, now there are 2.
Now there are 2 of them. And he leaves, and immediately Yoda's done.
Which is annoying.
Oh my gosh.
Like if you just look back.
See, you never leave. Yeah, your kid's safe, but we don't know how long. We don't know how long this timer is.
Yeah.
We have no idea. And as soon as he leaves, it's over, and Grogu passes out.
He's exhausted.
Yeah, every time he uses the Force.
Which, did you notice? Yeah, I was going to say his little meditation pose. That was awesome.
I freaking loved that. That was so fun. That was such a fun little detail. And I'm
so funny. I'm like, there it is.
There he is. And then he goes down and starts helping Fennec.
Well, before, this is, like my favorite part of Fennec, when she just jumps off the side of the ledge
and
in
murks
the coolest
in
pose
the air.
And just boom, 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 boom. Does a roll and takes out like 2 other guys in her roll.
She's just totally taking everybody out.
Yeah.
And then takes her helmet off, sees the other troop transport come in.
Yeah, she's taking
another
a breath
guy comes
too.
around the corner,
she's like,
surprises her,
takes off, she's like,
throws the helmet.
Which totally takes that guy out. And then she blasts the other guy. This is the point where my wife's like, is she going to run out of ammo? And I look at her and I'm like, these are blasters. You don't run out of ammo. You overheat. Have you ever played Battlefront? Blasters overheat. And she's like, obviously I haven't. Like,
now, it's not totally true. They do have ammo. At least we know the stormtroopers have ammo. Mm. But it seems like regular blasters, they just have these unlimited power cells or something.
Yeah.
Just keep going forever. Or at least for a very long time.
At least Fennec does.
Yeah. Fennec does, Mando's does. Even Boba's super long sniper thing.
Yeah.
Definitely had a few
Although
shots
Mando's did need his big gun, it needed bullets.
Oh yeah, the disintegration gun?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that thing, you don't see bolts. You just disintegrations.
That's so true.
So, yeah.
Where's
disintegrator.
That?
Yeah, right? Right?
We saw
it's gone.
Bit. It's gone, huh?
It's gone.
Which we'll get to why it's gone. Oh, goodness.
Okay. So, they keep fighting.
Fennec's getting surrounded.
Troopers. Mando wakes up. Grogu takes a nap. Mando backs up Fennec.
Yes.
And it's a phrase I love, and I'll say it again. Beskar holds up.
Beskar holds up.
he
let's do this.
Target practice for those stormtroopers, and they are definitely hitting the side of a bantha.
Yes, they're
They're hitting Mando with at least every other shot.
Yeah.
They're
time.
hitting him pretty good. And he's just standing there taking it, shooting back. Fennec's coming over his shoulder.
And she's definitely just hiding behind him.
Bob and weave behind him. And they do pretty good. And then all of a sudden, when you think they're getting overrun, this little bomb that falls down. Tick, ting, tick, ting, beep, 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 beep. Boom! And we see a trooper like, oh no, an explosion! And then behind him,
something drops down.
And then the coolest sequence in all of Star Wars begins.
Yeah.
And for a minute, I thought Mando and Fennec stopped shooting.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Later looking, in them in the background, they're still fighting. But we are not paying attention to them.
At all.
Because Boba's got his groove back.
Completely on Boba.
And by groove, I mean his armor.
Which he knows how to use.
There's nothing there. And I also noticed he didn't take a single shot. He didn't get hit. He didn't sit there and take shots. He dodged. He moved. He took every single guy out. Murked every single person. 2 things that were my favorite. The knee rockets.
Oh, yeah. Those
because I have that visual dictionary. And I've had it since I was a kid. When I lived at home, we had the Star Wars original trilogy visual dictionaries, and I would stare at Boba Fett's armor and all the cool things and look at that one little detail down at the bottom that had these knee darts that would launch from his knees, and he's got one on each. And then when he takes that knee and just
you gotta imagine.
I just cheered. I'm like, I know what's coming. I know what that is.
Think about how the directing that episode went. When they break down, Boba's gonna have a fight sequence, and they're talking about this. I'm sure they're with Dave Filoni.
Oh, I have no doubt he was there.
And let's have him do this, and I could see Dave saying, "Oh, and then he's gonna have his knee blasters,
and then he can launch his knee darts."
Like his what? Like,
wait, what?
Well, Boba has knee blasters. And you're like, hold on, and then they're like. And he shows them where it's at, and like, yeah, he's definitely gonna do that.
Yeah, we're totally using that. He used every single weapon that he had in this thing. Well, maybe not a cable. I don't think he used his cable.
No.
But I don't think he has one anymore since Luke got rid of it.
Yeah, Luke did cut it. So.
Oh my gosh.
But it makes me want to go back, because from what it looked like Cobb Vanth only kind of had the upper part. But now I want to go back to, did Cobb Vanth have the knee blaster and he never used it?
I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he never just didn't
I'm
wear
sure he
it.
didn't know. Yeah, or he didn't know how to use it, you know, because it's funny, we talked about, like, Cobb Vanth, he was drowning in that armor. You know, he looked so tiny in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that armor was not made for him.
And it was really, he just looked scrawny when he was in it.
He looked really scrawny, and he was super tall.
Yeah, so it was...
And I will never be able to unsee his chin sticking out from the bottom of that thing when he talked.
It really, it just didn't fit Cobb Vanth. No. And so seeing it fit Boba, and it's like, it just fit perfectly. It's like, Boba fits this armor, and the armor fits him. He knows how to use it, and it was flawless. Yeah. He never took a hit the entire time. And there's even one part where a trooper gets up, and without looking, he just, boom! Yeah, he just to the side. You're like, oh, okay.
And it's like,
oh. To the point that the stormtroopers are like, this is not worth it. Fall back.
Yeah, right after the knee darts, which I was like, yes!
Nope, this guy is too much. First, he beat the crap out of us with a stick. Now he's in full armor.
Now he's invincible and taking us out without any, just like we're butter. We're just melting before him.
Just get back to the ship. And it's funny that he used the buttons because Cobb Vanth, the thing just went down. But it's like Boba, he's showed
actuating it.
We watched him touch his helmet to bring the targeting system down. Yeah.
Which we saw in the movies a couple times when he'd have that thing down.
We saw Jango use it.
And then we saw Jango, but to see Boba activate it and have it come down. Like so the stormtroopers run off. They run back onto their transports.
And fly
they
away.
Take off. Boba targets one of them, launches his rocket, hits one of them, and crashes and takes them both out. And Mando comes up and says, "Nice shot."
Yeah. I was aiming for the other one.
And it's like, you didn't have to say that. Like, we would have all accepted it. And I thought I saw something wrong, or I thought there was something weird, a continuity error. Because when he targeted it, just those little things I always keep track of. It's just like in Rise of Skywalker when they destroy that ship with Chewie on it. I'm like, that wasn't the one with Chewie, there were two of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I already knew. There was no question in my mind. And then they reveal and it's like, oh, Chewie's still alive. And I'm like, yeah, of course he is.
He is. That wasn't...
There were two of them. I thought there were two of them.
The thing is, I couldn't remember. I was like, were there two? I thought there were.
Yeah.
But...
So in this one, when he aims at the lower one, I'm like, okay, he aims at the lower one and goes up and it hits the upper one. I'm like, oh, that might be a mistake. They hit the upper one when he aimed at the lower one. They says I was aiming for the other one. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
It actually put that in there on purpose. Which is funny because it's like even in an accident, he's still just a boss and just takes out all the stormtroopers.
Do you think your head would explode if James Earl Jones, Tamara Morrison, and Morgan Freeman all sat in the room talking to each other?
Probably.
Yeah. Like, just hearing all those voices, I think you could just sit there for days.
Oh, yeah.
And not eat or drink, and then just die.
I think so. Just
listening to them talk.
They should do a podcast.
Oh, gosh. That would be the podcast end all podcast.
Yeah, it would.
I'm Morgan Freeman and Tamara Morrison and James Earl Jones. I can't do James Earl Jones. I can't do any of them when I'm thinking too hard. But, oh gosh.
But they have iconic voices. And this is the point where we're like, sweet, we won.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
We've shown that we're going to win now.
And then we see the flash of a giant bolt of energy.
Yep.
And it comes down through the clouds, and we're like, what are they aiming at? Because it's obviously a laser bolt.
Yeah.
It came from somebody in orbit or something. And we're like, what are they shooting at? And then the tragedy happens.
Yes.
And the Razor Crest is freaking disintegrated.
It just completely destroys the Razor Crest, which he just got fixed.
Yeah, he just got fixed in the last episode. 100%. Perfectly put back together.
Beautiful.
Takes out all these TIE fighters. Wicked moves. Everything's holding together. No more Mon Callan nets and ropes everywhere.
Man, we'll get to that.
And he freaking...
It's gone. It's just gone. I almost cried when I saw that part. I was like, his ship is gone.
And they did the perfect job of showing you that no, it's gone.
Yeah.
Watching it, the 3 times since, and it shows it hit it. It changes perspective, hits it again, disintegration, and then it shows that front shot where it looks like the hull melts.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't fragment into a bunch of pieces, it melts.
It's just gone.
Yeah,
and that's when Finnick's like to Boba is like,
you better go to your ship. Now, granted, Boba's ship is somewhat camouflaged on this planet.
True, it's
a lot of earth tones, a lot of dark greens, dark reds,
actually is my
and
favorite
tans.
ship on Star Wars. The Fallen Order.
Yes,
with Cal Kestis.
Oh gosh,
you
that
can
paint
make
job
his
you
ship
can get
look like the Slave One, which is what mine is because those colors were just so awesome.
Oh yeah, well,
but yeah, it's camouflaged, and it seems that Boba knows how to park his ship because we were thinking like, how did he, when he got thrown in the Sarlacc pit, his ship's probably long gone, but obviously. Right. He parked it where it was supposed to be, and we see the same thing. He knows where to put his ship.
He knows how to hide it. He knows how to be in the shadows a little bit.
But
and Mando drives a giant silver ship.
Yeah, he does.
That you can spot from space.
Yep, and that's when he does his he activates his visor to see what it was that destroyed his ship, and there's an Empire ship. A light, I think it's a light cruiser.
Light cruiser. Architans class light cruiser.
Yeah.
And I was going to write that down. I started writing down all the little details that I'd want to remember later, little names of things. Sorry. I'm starting to lose my voice. And so he sees the cruiser and goes, "The child. They're here for the child." And starts running up the hill, and everyone's screaming at their screens, "Jetpack!"
Uh-huh.
And then we see
jetpack?
Moff Gideon on the bridge. And somebody says, "Direct hit." Oh.
And you could almost hear Moff Gideon. They could be like, "Oh, we see the child. We see the Mandalorian." And Moff Gideon's like, "Target his ship.
Make sure he can't follow us."
You're like,
And then he says, "Have the Dark Troopers been activated?" And this is the first time we hear their label.
Their name, yeah.
And
Dark Troopers.
Said momentarily. After she pushes the button right then.
Yeah.
It's like, can you hear that?
Crap.
It's like, "Have the Dark Troopers been activated?" Click. Yes.
yes, they have. Coming online.
And then we see this shape rocket out of the side of the ship, and I thought at first it might have been like a drop pod or something.
Yeah.
But then as we see some other shots, they're separate individuals.
Yep.
So Mando's running up the hill, and we see
Fennec's
some up close
behind
shots
him.
of these now officially classified as battle droids.
Really?
They are classified as battle droids.
Interesting.
From the information I found. And they come all the way down to the surface. And they do the shot. They do the back and forth. Mando and Fennec, Dark Troopers. Mando, Fennec, Dark Troopers. Mando, Fennec, Dark Troopers. And for a minute, I'm like, oh, they're close. They're close. I think they can do it. And then it shows the Dark Troopers flip around, go into their landing sequence, and it shows Mando, and he is way farther down the hill than I thought he was.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when I went, oh, crap.
Yeah.
We're not done.
Mm-hmm.
There's not just one tragedy in this episode. And
this is it.
They get to the top of the hill right as these Dark Trooper battle droids who've got a Death Trooper look like.
They do. They
face.
had it reminded me of the Dark Troopers that again you fight in Fallen Order.
Yeah, the Purge Troopers.
Yeah, the Purge Troopers. They had that same kind of helmet, that red.
Yeah,
they looked a lot like them. Yeah.
The Death Troopers are taller. You're right.
Yeah.
The Death Troopers have a taller helmet. But yeah, those Purge Troopers, they have the squattier.
It reminded me of them.
Yeah, good point. They got the red eyes and everything.
Yeah. And so, it's like, so just careless with Grogu. It was like, you be careful with that thing.
That kid, that child.
Yeah, you don't
infant.
just... I mean, didn't even, stop. They're slowly, epically walking towards Grogu.
Oh yeah, no, it's
and
not
then
like
once he
they
grabs him, it's just
snagged him super fast.
gone.
Now this is the part where I got to share my proud nerd moment, proud dad nerd moment. I've already shared this with you. My youngest daughter Amelia, we were watching this for the first time, and she, when she saw those Dark Troopers, she got scared, and she started to cuddle a little more. And then when that one grabbed Grogu, she out loud screamed and hid. She is terrified of those things. The second time, same thing. Screamed. I was so shocked that she did it again. I wasn't prepared for it. I had forgotten she screamed the first time. And then she screamed again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. Third time, she didn't scream. But as the Dark Troopers were coming down, she started shaking. Like, she's sitting in my lap this last time. I was up on the couch. And she's shaking. She's visibly, like, whole body shaking. And they get closer and closer. And I'm like, Ladima's in the chair next to me. I'm like, Ladima, look at her. We're watching the part. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's shaking.
It's crazy.
My youngest daughter is terrified of these things. And I can't even remember the last time I was genuinely scared in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And I am so proud.
Oh yeah,
that I let my little 2-year-old daughter watch this.
Like, I kind of want to show it to my kids.
She watched the troopers getting killed, their helmets getting smashed in by Boba Fett.
She's like, whatever.
The Razor Crest blowing up, but those Dark Trooper droids
Terrifying.
taking Grogu, in the actual act of picking him up, she couldn't handle it.
But I mean, it shows how, when you see them, they are menacing. They are incredibly terrifying.
It makes me wonder if I've watched episode 4 with her and want to see her reaction to Darth Vader.
Yeah. She may
I imagine
fear
that would
him.
be. I would imagine she might be afraid of Vader, which is kind of.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
It's Grogu wakes up just in time to be taken, which is the sad part.
Oh, they just.
You can see his
right there.
concern on his face as he looks down on Mando. Just the fear that he probably felt too, and it was like.
Yep. Oh man,
just hurts.
I can't imagine what he would feel like to see your kid flying away with a bunch of droids.
Yeah,
and plus his remnants of memory about droids still there.
Bad.
So can you imagine him failing Baby Yoda and having Baby Yoda being taken by droids? That's got to hit him even worse.
That's true. I didn't even think about it.
I didn't until right now.
He was hiding, against the battle troopers, the super battle droids. These things look, relatively close enough to those things. You could see him get some PTSD. As he flashbacks at the same terror that he feels. Which, how does that make him feel now? Even worse, because he's experienced the same fear that Grogu's feeling right now from the same things.
Yeah.
Droids.
Oh, man.
And it's funny, because as I was saying, Grogu has become my youngest.
Yeah.
And so watching them take Grogu away, it was like, he's helpless. He doesn't have his jetpack. Like all he can do is watch as they fly away with his kid.
You put it in that perspective, and I'm like, I don't think there's anything you could do to stop me.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't go after Grogu. If it were me, it'd be like, where's my jetpack?
Yeah.
And I would run, grab that thing. I'd make it take off. So I'd activate, launch it. Where is it? There it is. Going to get it.
It'd be kind of cool to
There'd
see
be
him
nothing
jump
to
off
see
the
me.
ledge and just have the jetpack like attach as he jumps off and he just rockets up.
That's the
cool.
kick butt moment that we're gonna see later.
Yeah,
I'm sure. But for I know he has to like attach it. So but him just run to the edge, jump off, grab it, shut it off, so it doesn't keep going. Grab it, attach it, boom, and just,
that'd have been so cool. He could run up one of the rocks.
If it was really your kid, you don't stop.
Yeah.
If somebody's got your kid, I mean, you see it in movies and stuff where they stop and they're like, "Oh no, my child!" It's like, no, like you mama bear the heck out of that thing.
Oh yeah.
You freaking, it doesn't matter. They're on a Arquitens class cruiser. I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna take it on myself.
Yeah, and even
I'm gonna freaking blow the crap out of the thing. I'm gonna go through the windscreen. I'm gonna.
Yeah, the hard part is, you think about it. In my experience, when my kids have been in danger, You don't think. You act.
You don't.
You
want
don't
to share
even
that
think about it,
story?
which I'd love to share that story. We were at Lake Powell. For those who don't know, it's a lake here in Utah.
And it's a huge lake. It's the biggest lake in Utah.
Yeah, huge lake. And my daughter was 2. I want to say she was 2.
She was real small.
She's petite. She's small anyway, but she wasn't very steady, walking. She kind of liked to lean against things. And we're at Lake Powell. We were on a houseboat. My wife's, your uncle, my wife's uncle.
Your employer.
My boss, funny enough, had a houseboat. And so we were all there.
Yeah, we rented it. We rented it from him, and he was kind enough to come down with us and water ski.
He sacrificed to vacation with us. But it was just maybe it was day 2, day 3, I think it was.
And we're watching kids like a hawk. When you're a parent around water,
it's terrifying.
It's constant. You are constantly alert of where your kids are and what they're doing.
Yeah, and it was
nighttime is the scariest because you are asleep.
Yeah.
And so we slept next to our kids, and every time something would happen, we'd wake up.
It was the worst week of sleep.
Terrible sleep.
It was horrible.
The whole time. And we want to get up early and water ski still.
Exactly.
It's not a restful vacation with young kids.
No, it's not, because water is already scary. And kids, which kids can't swim or which don't swim well and which can.
And which ones are afraid of the water
and
won't go close to it without a jacket, and which ones
don't
are a little
think about it. Yeah, which was mine.
Over the head.
Penny is her name, and she was young enough that it didn't register the danger of water, and so we were, kind of set. To the front is where I think the food was. As we were starting, I think we were either cleaning up, but most everyone was up at the front except for my wife and myself. And my wife, she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
With my second, and she was in the back, cleaning up. I think she was cleaning up.
I think she was actually changing her into her swimsuit or something.
She might have been,
because she took the life jacket off of Penny.
Yes.
And got her dressed. And my understanding is she just turned.
Well, she was still in her swimming suit, though.
She was in a swimming suit. Yeah, well, she put her
Maybe she was changing her into her swimming suit.
Yeah.
Point is, she turned to grab something, and I was not on the back of the boat. I was just inside.
There's like
kind
a
of the beds
area,
were there, some sleeping area right there.
Just inside the door.
Yeah, and I remember, I think I had just talked to her and Penny at the time, and I had just gone in, and so she had changed her, and Penny was on the side. She fell right off the side of the boat. And, my wife, she screamed, and I saw her.
She did the gasp.
Yes.
Which is the most horrid sound in the world for any parent.
Oh, yeah.
Or any dad to hear your wife make that sound. A scream is a scream. And you can gather yourself quickly, but that gasp.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Something's wrong. Right there. And it's the horror. It's raw horror.
That's
probably the best word for it. Horror. And so, I poke out, and I see where she's looking, and it's like, that's where Penny was a half a second ago. And this is when it kicked in. It's just, child is in danger. And I just, the speedboat was right next to the houseboat, and she'd fallen right in between the two. And, I saw her as
waves, they're moving.
Yeah, it's moving, and I saw her, I saw the railing, and it was no thought. It was just save the kid. And she was underwater for maybe a second and a half.
Yep.
I saw her at the top, and I knew, and it was just, I know where I need to go, where I need to be.
Oh,
I was in the water, and she was up. She hadn't even taken a breath. There was no water in her lungs because of how fast. Because
she was still in shock herself. She hadn't breathed yet.
Exactly. And I saw her, she's looking up at me.
And
it was just like,
if I remember right,
save it.
You, the way you said it is, you were suddenly at the edge, and you could see her, and her face was looking up and just barely covered. That would haunt my dreams, man. It already does.
Yeah.
It wasn't even my kid. I didn't even see it, but I can see it.
And I
can see it.
I see it too. But it was, I was in, she was up, and it wasn't, get her into the boat. All it was get her up
Just up.
And I can worry about it later. Right now, she needs to be out of the water.
And oh gosh.
Everyone else was at the back of the boat, just like that. I was able to hand her up, and then I got pulled up. And then it's after that I realized, because there are the shells that stick to the bottom of boats sometimes. And my legs were completely cut up.
Yeah.
But I couldn't feel it at all.
There's like little...
I don't know if it's...
What do you
barnacles. Call them? I'm not sure if that's...
They're like barnacles. They're
shells.
Not barnacles,
they're
but
shells.
They are.
They're incredibly sharp, though.
Yes.
And
you didn't even
think about it.
Didn't even hesitate. There was no concern at all for anything that was happening with you.
And that's when it hit me how unrealistic movies are when a kid falls in the water and people stop to take their phone out or to take their shoes or their shirt off.
Nobody did.
Those didn't even cross my mind. I was in my swimming suit, but I can say without a doubt I didn't even think about, do I have my phone? Do I have my shirt?
Nope. You don't take anything off your body. You don't do any of that. It's immediate.
Exactly.
There's no question. We've had that, not nearly to the degree, but when our kids at our home, if somebody falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
There's no thought. You are at the stairs. You are there in a second, and you don't even know how you got there.
Yeah.
And suddenly things are happening, and it's instinct. And so that's another thing. Mando is not Grogu's father.
No.
Because that did not happen.
He was
if
more
I was
stunned.
that helpless in that moment, if you even have any path to take care of this, you are pursuing it immediately
without a thought.
I would have had the jetpack in seconds. Like you wouldn't have been able to count it.
Yeah.
And you'd be in the air. And those droids would be shooting at you, and you'd be taking them out as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. But every focus would be on the kid. And you're wearing Beskar. You're not taking out those droids. You are beelining it to the kid.
Yeah.
You're taking there's no question
to get to the kid.
So he's not Grogu's dad.
No, he has a bond with the kid.
He has a bond,
but
it is not. They're not there yet.
No,
they're not there yet.
No. So
sorry, I wanted to.
No, yeah,
I love that story, man.
I get chills even relating it there, because it was just such an interesting, I would say, experience, just because
it's so good to be able to sit on this side of it and it not be a tragedy.
That is true. I 100% agree with that. And what was nice is, for as horrible as it was, it happened in the most perfect way, where we were there.
You were right there.
So it took, the whole thing from her falling into her being out of the water was done in less than 5 seconds.
Yep. And I was up at the front of the boat and the front of the houseboat, and I heard the gasp, and it was the word. It is horrible, and I ran back, and by the time I got there, and it was, I was there in seconds, and you were already had her on the edge of the boat, and it was shocking, because before anyone knew what had happened, she was already back in the boat.
Yep.
And that is the instinct of a parent, and you're a freaking hero, dude.
Well, I felt like a superhero.
Well, yeah, you would have.
I felt
you should, because you were.
Because it didn't end in tragedy. Because of how, and I felt so cool. I felt like this is it. I have achieved the parenting status of,
of awesomeness.
I felt so cool. And it was like, sure, my body was cut up from
the things, but those are just.
But it was like, whatever.
Those are just like, these are my awesome
battle scars.
These are my battle scars from the coolest moment of
heroism
in my life.
Exactly. It was like, this is probably the coolest thing I've ever done.
And this was pretty early in the trip too. So the rest of the trip, we were on pins and needles, and basically we tightened up. We were already really tight about the life jackets and where the kids were. But from that point on, it was just like, no, like
even more so.
You are in the houseboat. Yep. You are on the beds. You are somewhere where if the kid falls, they smack their head on the ground.
Exactly.
On the bottom of the boat.
Yeah.
There's no concern anymore.
Yeah.
And luckily, she wasn't afraid of the water.
No.
She still got back in the water.
Which I've got to say is probably because she wasn't in it long enough.
Yeah,
to be scared.
She didn't even know what happened.
She was like, "What happened?" You know, she was still trying to figure out how she fell. By the time she's getting pulled back out.
And for crying out loud, it's terrible, but I was jealous of you. Because, like, I am so happy that didn't happen to my kids, because I think about it, I'm like, what, how, no.
Yeah.
No, I can't guarantee that I would do that. I can't, well, not that I would do that, but that it would be so successful. Or that she'd only be in there for a second.
Right.
That I would be so close that nothing bad would happen. Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, for it to happen to you, it's like, wow, you are a hero. Man, I wish I was a hero. So then I'm like, well, why couldn't I been back there and saved her? Then I'm not as worried. It's not my own kid, and then I can lord it over you forever.
Exactly. Remember when I saved your kid?
But at the same time, it's like, that is the coolest, and that's honestly been the one thing in my life. Whenever I'm jealous of somebody, I can look back at and go, "You were jealous of that, though."
Yeah.
And everything's fine. It's fine that didn't happen. Oh gosh.
It was you know. Kind of going off tangent here, but
yeah, and I know we're not even part of the episode anymore.
You're talking about our nerds that we're raising, though.
You know, it's totally on topic for our cast.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was cool because, in the sense, a lot of times you're like, if I was put in a situation, I would act like this, but until you're in that situation, you're not 100% sure how you would act. You would like to think, which I mean, up until that point, I would like to think, yeah, I would jump right in and save her, which is, I would be 99.9% sure that I would do that. But having been in that situation, it's like I now know without a doubt that's what I would do because that's what I did, which is, it's almost comforting because I worry, would I freeze? Would I
And so those are the things that go through my head still. And you have overcome that, which is, again, that's another point of jealousy. Like, you know what you would do in that situation. Mm-hmm. Whereas for me, it's like, gosh, I sure hope I would be able to.
Yeah, which, and I've no doubt, parents, being a parent, it's the if you can take something comfort away from the situation is knowing that I didn't think.
You didn't have instinct.
To think. So
it
really,
was already
when
there
something
for you.
happens, you're just reacting to something that's happening, and there is no thought because your body and your mind already knows what it needs to do in order to, save your child.
Yep.
Which, kind of looking at, pulling it back into this episode.
Sure.
You saw maybe Mando's helplessness. He didn't act because he couldn't. He had no idea how to proceed.
But also, in the context of the Mandalorian, he knows they want him alive.
Yes.
He knows they want Grogu alive. So there's not a threat of
death.
There's not a life-threatening
immediately,
situation.
At least.
Here. But Boba is already in the air.
Yes.
And he's in Slave One, and just seeing it fly again makes me super happy. And now, because we are part of Boba's story, we get to see in the cockpit again.
Yes.
And that also just brought joy to my heart.
Awesome.
But he says he's gonna go take him out. Fennec's like, they took the kid, take him out. And then Mando's like, no, don't hurt the kid. And she says, never mind, cancel that.
Yeah.
No, don't hurt the kid.
I think had Mando had the jetpack, he may have had him maybe try to hit maybe one next to him. Because if he could knock, it might...
I don't know. I honestly think it would have almost been a cooler story because it would have seen Mando have to accept the help if he had his jetpack and gone up and tried to get Grogu back. But then those droids are able to take him down.
Yeah.
Damage his jetpack, so he can match Boba. Or some way take him out or delay him long enough that he's able to, that they get away. And when I think about the parent side of it, if he's truly in that parent-child relationship, But he was kind of in the mode of trying to let go of him.
Yeah.
As well in this episode, so that probably factors in. But for me, like if I'm thinking of parent side, he goes up, he has to be stopped by the other droids, and when they take off, when they jet into hyperspace without the other droids, right? They got Grogu, they leave the other droids behind. Right. To see, basically, I want that Darth Vader. No, I want that ripping everything apart around you. I want to see that ferocity into the droids that are there. I want to see him rip them apart and not stop until they're in fewer pieces or in smaller pieces than his ship. Yeah. That's the parent side. So we're not there yet.
No.
But I hope we get there. I hope we
can
do
see
get
us
there.
getting there.
Yeah.
You know, he's...
I mean, but at the same time, he can't raise Grogu all the way because he's 50. And Mando's already, you know, in middle-aged.
Yeah.
And he can't raise Grogu.
No.
He can't raise him to adulthood. They can't go on Mandalorian adventures together.
No.
He'll never be there. In another 50 years, we don't know if he's only going to be 2 by that point. Cause he's...
Yeah, how fast does he age after that?
Yeah.
It's obviously slow the whole time.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard to say goodbye to them. And I think that ends the season. I think that ends the show.
Yeah.
When Grogu is no longer part of it. And Mando is the Mandalore and rules the planet Mandalore.
Yeah.
And then that's when Grogu is taken away by a Jedi, and we'll always have Tython. I had to look at my notes. We'll always have Tython. So Boba chases them up, and he says, "They're back." Who's the Empire? They're back. That's impossible. And she says something that's somewhat controversial. She says that the New Republic controls the Outer Rim, but Tython, even according to the maps in the episode, is a deep core planet. It's in the more middle of the galaxy. It's not part of the Outer Rim.
Interesting.
But that could just been a typo.
Yeah.
Or maybe she doesn't know where she is.
Maybe not. I mean, she is part robot now.
She is half robot. Or ab robot.
She's ab robot. So.
We all want ab robots.
We do.
We'd all like robo abs.
That would be cool.
So she questions him, but he says, this is no spice dream.
Spice dream.
Which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it with my own eyes. I'm seeing the cruiser with my own eyes. And it's great. And then he says, I'm coming back. And then they go off into hyperspace. Boba comes down. And they go through what's left of the race.
In case you had any question that his ship might have survived, they show you the crater that Mando was standing in that was his ship.
Yeah, and there's only, of course, 2 things that survive.
Yeah.
There's a Baby Yoda's little metal ball.
There's the ball and the spear.
And the spear.
Of Beskar.
Because why?
Beskar holds up.
Yeah, Beskar holds up. And Mando shows it off to Boba, and Boba utters those fabulous words. Beskar. The only thing that survived the wreckage. Beskar.
He should have been like, holds up.
Beskar holds up. As soon as he says it, I'm never letting go of the phrase.
Yeah.
And then, because of the aforementioned obligations that Boba feels to Mando, he offers to help him find.
Well, first he's like, this is, he shows the inscription
on the armor. Forgot the coolest part.
Yeah, for 25 years, he tells him, this has been inscribed.
Embedded in this armor for 25 years.
This is me, Boba Fett. And my father, Jango. So we find out that Jango was a foundling.
Yes, he was, and he fought in the Mandalorian Civil War.
Yes.
And this is where the key to... oh gosh, I was going to look up his name. Prime Minister...
Oh no.
Go. I don't remember his name. The Prime Minister of Mandalore that we meet in the Clone Wars says that Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian and he has no idea where he got that armor.
Just because a bounty hunter goes around in Mandalorian armor does not make him Mandalorian.
Yep. And he basically disavows Jango right then and there. Now, we know that he served in the Civil War. I think that Mando was on the side that lost.
Jango.
Man, this is difficult.
All the Mandalorians.
Jango Fett was on the side that lost. And because he was a foundling, he would not have been an official Mandalorian of record.
Yeah.
On the side that won. He was on the rebel side, or the whatever losing side was.
Yeah.
So it's possible that his records were never part of the original. So Prime Minister Olmec. Oh my gosh, I got there.
There it is.
Prime Minister Olmec doesn't have records of Jango being a Mandalorian. They have no idea where he got that armor.
Right.
And that also explains why Jango abandoned Mandalore.
That's why he
and left and is a bounty hunter and is now just a man trying to make my way through the universe. That explains why he would be there and why he would end up trying to raise Boba. Not as a Mandalorian, but as a son, as him.
A Fett.
As a Fett. I like that.
That's true.
He says we agreed on a deal that I'd get my armor in exchange for the safety of you and the child. And I took my armor, and the child was not safe. And so I will rectify that situation.
We are indebted to you until he is returned safely to you.
Which now I kind of hope that they don't get him back this season.
Really, though.
I would love the Mando Boba Fennec show.
I know, right?
It's
good to note that while Grogu was up on the rock, it seems he probably contacted a Jedi.
Yeah, he definitely did something. He activated
contact,
something.
I would think.
So we think something's going to happen. Now, I'm of the opinion that either Luke shows up and talks to him or whatever, or at the very last shot of the season is somebody at the Seeing Stone on Tython, and we just see. Okay, so here's what I want. I want to see a robotic hand reach out and touch the Seeing Stone. So who do you think that would be? I mean, there's the obvious answer.
Well, if we go through those who have robotic hands, you have Luke.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking about people who have lost their hands who could have one, there's Mace Windu.
See, that is the one that I secretly want it to be.
That would be awesome. We know, according to George, he's alive because, well, according to Samuel Jackson, who said that he asked George.
Of course I'm alive.
And George Lucas is like, yeah, sure. So he could be there.
He could be. I want it to be him for so many reasons, and one of them is because Boba Fett hates Mace Windu.
That would be so interesting.
And for Mace Windu and Boba Fett's paths to cross at this point in their lives would be the coolest moment to see what they do.
Yeah.
Because there's a new From a Certain Point of View out for The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yes,
and I listened to a synopsis of a couple of the stories, and one of them is about Boba Fett and how he always imagines, every time he gets a bounty, he imagines it as Mace Windu.
Really?
Yes. So we know that in Empire Strikes Back, he's still carrying that. But this Boba Fett seems to be different. He seems to have matured a lot. And there's a code that he lives by now that's a little more than I think Jango's code.
Yeah.
I think he lives by a little bit more of a code of honor than Jango did.
Yeah, it's funny looking at
just because of this whole situation with Grogu.
Yeah, when he says to Mando, he's like, "Let's all put our weapons down. We don't have to. We can talk without any bloodshed.
There's no need for bloodshed."
Then he proceeds to just whoop all those stormtroopers.
Like,
he obviously knows how to do bloodshed. So honestly, I have no idea how Boba would react to seeing Mace Windu.
I don't know either. I have a theory of why Boba said that to Mando and why he respected Mando. Because Mando went in, killed a crate dragon, and Cobb Vanth, he didn't have to kill Cobb Vanth to get the armor. Cobb Vanth willingly gave him the armor at the end of that encounter. And so Boba sees him leaving with his armor and goes, "This man has integrity and honor.
Yeah.
I think I might be able to get my armor back from him." And at first he goes in and says, I'm gonna take it from you.
Yeah.
But he's willing to make a deal. He's willing to do it without bloodshed because of the respect he has for Mando.
Yeah.
So
yeah, do you think
he also knows he probably lose that fight because he doesn't have any best guy.
That's true.
I think that'd be a horrible situation for Boba to be in, is to face Mace Windu again. And what do you do in that situation? I don't know.
Yeah. For those who don't remember, Mace Windu killed his father, Jango.
Yep.
He hit him in the one spot that Jango didn't have Beskar, which is the neck.
Yeah, Beskar holds up, but no Beskar on the neck there.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually a shot that I kind of wish would have been in the show, but I understand why it wasn't. And I'll guarantee you they shot it. It was Boba Fett going into the Razor Crest. I know they filmed it. There's no way they didn't film Boba walking into the Razor Crest to get his armor.
Yeah.
Just in case it worked.
Uh-huh.
He walks in, he picks up his armor, puts his chest plate on, gets his gauntlets on, and looks down, and his helmet's there on the floor, and he bends over and kneels down, and he picks up the helmet, and it's just a replica mirror shot of him picking up Jango's helmet on Geonosis. You know that had to be a shot that was in someone's mind.
Add the darts in his knee, you gotta think that they would add that.
Somebody was there thinking about it.
Like, what if we did this? And like, let's just do it. And like, maybe we won't put it in, but
we gotta
in
film
the extras, maybe
we'll have some behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes, and that's
just have
one
that
of them.
shot.
Just watch. He just puts his
bends
head
over
to the
and
helmet,
picks it up, puts it to his head, and then boom.
Yep.
Boba Fett.
Because we've learned, because we talked about this a couple episodes, I think the first time we saw Boba and we're like, oh, Boba Fett's in here. We have learned, based on the chain code, that the armor that he is wearing is the armor that
Jango's armor.
It's his dad's armor.
Now, you and I talked about Jango's helmet getting blown up in that episode, and you were 100% correct. Blew it in half. So we don't know if it's just the armor, or some people have said and mentioned that Boba's helmet is slightly different than Jango's helmet.
And it could be.
And it could be that Boba was able to salvage Jango's helmet.
Yeah.
And rebuilt it, reformed it more to fit him, but they're clones. So yeah. Well, it fits his style, maybe. Maybe it's slightly altered to a style that Boba wanted a little different.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fine either way. Well, we're still not done talking about this episode.
No,
this was
not even done
the
yet.
coolest freaking...
Which is funny because this episode was a half an hour long.
I know.
Like, there are other episodes that are 50.
We are an hour and 40 minutes into this podcast. We're now at 3 times as long, and we're not done.
No. This episode, like I said, it probably my favorite episode. I loved 100%. This episode.
I also.
I hated it because,
there are parts of it that I hate. There are parts of it that hurt.
That's why it hurt.
There are parts that hurt, but I still love it. Like chapter 10, I hate it. I hate the spiders. I hate it. I can say I hate that episode, and it's all about the spiders.
The Krykna.
But the Krykna. But for this,
it just hurt.
All the hurt doesn't change the fact that I want to watch it again. And again and again. It's only half an hour long. I can watch it multiple times in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
It's funny because I watched it at lunch, and then I came home, and my wife's like, well, what do you want to do? Are you okay to watch that again? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, 1,000 times, yes.
Absolutely.
And even watching it again, like, I sat down today and watched it and wrote all my notes, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop watching it. I locked myself in a room and I just sat there and watched the entire thing.
It's amazing.
All the way through. No stops, no breaks. The only time I looked away from the screen was to write something down.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of which, let's jump through the end of this thing.
Yeah.
Super quick, right? Nothing to talk about here.
Not really.
We go to Mando.
Yes.
Boba and Fennec fly in Slave One to Navarro and land, and we find out that calling card was not a calling card at all. It was an official marshal badge.
Yes.
which is what I thought it was. It didn't look like it was technological. So I thought it looked like a badge that he was handing her.
I did too. It looked like a badge.
Like, there you go. Some people were like, oh, it's a hologram or a calling card or a beacon or something. And I'm like, it just looks like a hunk of metal. It looks like a badge.
Which it is.
Turns out it is.
A badge.
Heard you'd gone legit.
I wouldn't go that far.
I need your help. Name it. I need you to find someone. Should be in the prison registry. Last name Mayfeld. Of all the characters that would come back to this show, that was the last one I thought was going to come back.
I agree. For a moment, I toyed with maybe there's someone that'll get introduced who's like crazy.
Someone new.
I thought maybe someone new is going to get introduced who's like crazy. But when it was like Mayfeld, I'm like, okay.
Or maybe some Imperial prisoner that we've heard of or we saw in the original trilogy or something.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nope. It's freaking Third Arm Mayfeld. Not a stormtrooper.
They did not like each other, which is
going to be interesting. So he's serving 50 years on Carthon.
In the farm.
For helping to free a prisoner and then being accessory to the death of a New Republic officer.
Yes.
Which is Officer Davin.
Officer Davin.
Rest him.
Yes.
And that Mando wants to spring him to find Gideon, and she has a little pushback there. She says, these stripes mean something. I've got
rules to follow.
And then he says the line that, of course, she's going to jump right in on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because she's always looking for an excuse, right?
Yeah, she is.
She's every time, Mando just has to say the right words, and she'll drop everything. First time it was Imperial. He's an Imperial. And this time, what was it, Scott?
They took the kid. Or they have the kid.
Oh, man. And you see the look on her face. She just looks up.
She's like, let's go.
Okay.
Basically, we don't know what she said, but we can assume. In the next one, when she's on Slave One, we know that she was like, let's go.
Well, yeah, we know she was there.
Let's go.
We 100% know. I would be more surprised if she said no, honestly. And I don't think that follows. I don't think that makes sense.
Well, she was so excited to see him.
She doesn't love the kid.
Well, when we saw her in the episode, she wanted to, she was excited to see him.
Yeah, Grief Karga a little more so, but
yeah.
She's
but
happy.
It's funny because she did say, because she's like, you know how I feel about the Empire.
Yeah. So he's got that going for him on why she would want to help.
Yeah.
And then when he says they got the kid, it's like, okay, that's a good reason.
And also, note that she knows what they were doing to the kid. They were taking his blood, so she knows that they're using the kid for experiments.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. She was there when they
doesn't sit well, She's like, I could see that being another part where it's like they're, harvesting the blood of this little kid
for some project. And we know he has some powers. Yeah, that's a good point. She might see that as a big threat.
Like, yeah.
And the guy, Carson, what's his name? The X-Wing guy. He said something's going on here.
Something's going on.
We don't know what.
No one will admit
that might be another little push for her to be like, oh.
So in the end, it's actually my responsibility. I need to investigate this. Yeah.
So springing Mayfeld from prison, while it sounds bad, this might be important.
Yeah.
It might be worth doing.
I wonder if she'll take because I'm sure we'll see them spring him. Will it be done?
They kind of set it up as, the next 2 episodes are, we're going to spring Mayfeld, and then we're going to have the finale.
Yeah. So really, I wonder if
Beskar
she's going to be
Darksaber.
She's like, I'm the marshal, and they're just going to walk out with him? Or
it could be something super simple where she just goes, hey, there's a paperwork mix-up, I'm supposed to take him. This is the guy who captured him, actually.
Yep. Here's my badge to show that I'm...
Yeah, she's going to use her stripes, and she'll probably lose them.
Yes, but she'll do it for the kid.
She'll do it for the kid. And, I mean, she'll lose the stripes, but she'll still be the Marshal of Navarro.
She will be. She was before.
Yep. And, New Republic. Next time you get out here, right?
Yeah.
We're not worried about that.
No.
They have the kid. Yep. So then we cut to the Arquitens class light cruiser.
Yes.
And we see Moff Gideon with a couple of troopers walk into a prison cell.
When he was on the bridge at the beginning there, I actually thought that he was going to send like a communication because he walked right next to the
Possibly
table.
to a tall blue,
red-eyed man. I was hoping. A part of me was like, "Is it?"
It's always an option now. That's always an option.
Hearing his voice.
Oh my gosh!
Moff Gideon. I'm like,
oh,
no, because
to hear Thrawn's voice in this, that's almost as good as Boba's.
It is almost
as good as Boba's.
Like if I could pick two people to read me a bedtime story, it would be alternating between Boba and Thrawn.
That's perfect. I freaking love it.
But yes, so they're with troopers and they're walking down the hall to some destination. To eventually we hit a point where you can hear stormtroopers grunting and struggling with something.
And Gideon opens the door and steps in, and there's a puzzling sight.
Yes.
These two troopers who were sent to go grab Grogu are
getting
standing
whooped.
about 6 feet away from him, 8 feet away from him, getting
it
force
varies.
whooped.
It varies. Sometimes they're 8 feet, and then he throws them 6 feet, and
back and forth and into each other, and
he actually starts to force choke him too.
Yeah, he does use the force choke, but both of those troopers are still alive.
Yeah, they are.
Just
their dignity is on the ground.
Totally gone.
They got whooped by
a
50-year-old,
by a 10-inch tall baby.
Yeah. Which Moff Gideon, it's funny when they're like set to stun, he's like, wait.
Oh yeah, Gideon watches. He's also letting him wear himself out.
Yes, he is.
We know that after because he mentions
he tells him. He's like, you've gotten pretty good with that. But it leaves you so sleepy.
And I'm like, he almost sounds gentle.
Yeah.
But there's that malice behind it that we know that's not good.
It's after he, throws him, you see Grogu kind of leans to the side.
And he's starting wheezing. Oh, that sound.
He does.
It's the sounds he makes.
Yep. He's just so tired.
And then he taunts him with the Darksaber.
Oh, which, I mean...
Remember this from times long past?
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but any excuse to see the Darksaber, I'm fine with it.
And then Grogu reaches out to try to take it.
And
you can see him pulling just a little bit. It's not quite enough.
It's not strong enough.
Yeah.
It's too weak.
You're not ready to play with such things. You might poke an eye out. And I'm like, oh, come on!
Poke your eye out.
Poke your face off.
And then cuff him.
Then maybe you would like to take a nap. Nice long nap. And then he signals the guy to stun him, and it does that beautiful blue circle, blue ring from episode 4. Where it goes out, and then the camera switches, and it goes in.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, where's that apex? I want to watch it go, wow. I want it to go, woo.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
There.
Doesn't work in 3D.
No.
And
then
they stun him, and he says, bind him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and at first I'm like, what do they got, little baby handcuffs?
That's exactly
oh my gosh, they have baby handcuffs.
They got baby handcuffs? Like, yep.
I saw a super funny meme today, and it was a stormtrooper saying, like, bind him? What, we got little baby handcuffs or something? Oh my gosh, we have little baby handcuffs. Guys, I think we're the bad guys. Oh my gosh, are we the bad guys?
Are we the good guys? That's what they told us when we were being brainwashed.
Oh my gosh, have you seen the videos from Star Wars?
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, okay. You got that right.
We're the good guys, right? That's what they told us.
The brainwashing. It's called orientation. Little Baljeet. And then he mentions Dr. Pershing. We have the donor.
Send a encrypted message to Dr. Pershing.
I have mixed feelings with Dr. Pershing.
So do I.
At first, I thought he was just a hapless little scientist working for the client.
It's for the science.
And then when he said, "I'm the only reason he's alive," I'm like, oh, so he's doing his stuff, but he's also protecting the child. So there's some good there. But with that communique in earlier this season,
yeah,
I'm like, oh, he kept him alive to harvest more.
Yes.
So definitely don't think Pershing's on the up and up.
It's more of a Pershing had a little bit more knowledge than the client did.
Yes, 100%. And he ended up working directly for Gideon, not the client.
Yes.
So there we go. It'll be interesting to see if we see any hints of that. Again, I really hope it's not Snoke. I'm warming up to it, but I really hope it's not.
The problem is that, and maybe this is the good part, I can't see it going any other direction.
Yeah,
which is why I'm like...
That's why I'm trying to get used to it.
They're going to try and explain it with this. And it's like, I can't see him going anywhere else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've seen, it's not canon anymore, but in The Force Unleashed, we've seen Jedi cloning before.
Yeah, we know it could be possible. They could pull it in.
So...
Dave Filoni likes to do that stuff.
Yeah, so I could see him tampering with the Force ability to try and infuse that.
Yeah. Oh, well, we've got through all of my notes.
That's all mine. I was actually... Really, I just kind of touch on the front and then the beginning, and as we talk, I'm like, yeah, that's right. I'm thinking about this, and this.
I got to write it down so I can keep track of where I am.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just tangent.
Yeah. Just a couple of last things. The planet Tython was originally in the deep core, but now it could be in the outer rim.
Yes.
Darth Vader actually visited there.
Tython,
with Dr. Aphra in the comic.
Interesting.
In the comics. And it was a distraction when it turns out she had a loved one on Hoth at the Rebel base.
Huh.
So she was trying to divert Vader and betrayed him.
Interesting.
Also in Legends, and possibly in canon, this was a potential site of the first Jedi Temple. So Luke may know about this place, or this may start him on his quest to find the first Jedi Temple.
Interesting.
From that we see in the sequel trilogy.
I honestly, I think that Luke will be the one we see.
I also think that will be the case. Just
because at this point, like we said, in the last podcast, Luke's at the height of his power right now.
He really is.
So if anyone's going to fail or reach out in the Force, it'll be him.
Yeah. And I'm not a fan of bringing Mace back. We some people just gotta die eventually. We can't bring everybody back who got flown off of a building.
Yeah.
Gravity has to kill some people.
It killed Aura Singh.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Oh my gosh, I love that. And then the last thing about Tython, in Legends, it was the original home of the Jedi Order.
Interesting.
So, obviously, Luke found Octo, and potentially the first Jedi Temple, which was the tree, I think.
Yes.
But in Legends, this was the home of the Jedi Order.
This was it.
Not necessarily the first temple, but the home of the Jedi Order.
The home.
So,
interesting.
could be either way. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. You want to close this out?
Yeah, I can close this out.
Do you remember the thing?
I should memorize it, really, is what I should do. But yeah, if you're having trouble raising your own nerds, this is the way.
See you next time.
Until next time.